Hey guys, it's Danielle. We are going to jump back into our series. And today we're going to talk about kind of the types of tenants that you could look at for your rental property. So we figured out how to fund that property, where to look, and then how to find the right one within that target area. So now, how do we determine the right kind of tenant? So there's a couple different types of tenant, if you will. The first one would be like a student or a rent by room type of tenant, right? And that's a great option, especially if you're close to a university or an area where it's close to businesses, right? In that case, like I said, you're usually renting by room. Okay. So in the area that we bought in, which was, like I said, that west side pocket close to the universities and the stadium, etc., you can get between, let's say, 700 and 900 a room. Okay. So that's a great option. And that's actually the option that we chose to go with for both of our rental properties, right? The next type of tenant would be more of a traditional tenant. That might be a professional, family, that kind of situation. That's a tenant that is going to rent like the entire property, which is great. They're going to pay you every month. You're going to collect a security deposit. And that's what I would say is kind of the most popular type of tenant, if you will. That's definitely what you'd want to go for if you're looking in that area where the schools are fantastic. You're probably going to be looking at renting to a family with children. Um, and then the next type of tenant would be like a Section 8 or Atlanta housing type of tenant. This type of tenant works well if you're looking in more of the up and coming areas like the ones we bought in. So what that is essentially is a tenant that is lower income and they're getting help from the government for their rent. So it's actually a really good strategy for you as a landlord for a couple of reasons. One, there are certain areas, and the area that we bought in is one of those areas, but they pay a premium in rent to you, the landlord, in the areas that are close to the city, right? That are close to downtown, that are close to the MARTA. And then the other like huge positive there is it's guaranteed income. Okay. So if your tenant loses their job or whatever in a traditional type of rental, you might have to shift gears and find another tenant. With a Section 8 or Atlanta housing type of tenant, you're going to get a direct deposit from the government every month. And then once a year, when you do your inspection, you can apply for a rent increase. And like I say, the rent that they offer is pretty lucrative in most of the areas that are up and coming and close to the city, right? And then the last type of tenant would be like a short-term rental type of situation. I mean, and that can be really a great option for some people. Typically, in that case, you would need to furnish the property. So there's going to be more cost after you close, right? And then there's going to be a little bit more work involved, right? As far as maintaining that property, you're going to have to continually find tenants. And a short-term rental could be like Airbnb or Furnish Finders, which is a platform that helps find people that are looking for short-term rentals for work, right? Um, but yeah, there's more work involved in maintaining that type of rental. And like I said, there's more cost because you're going to have to furnish the property and you're also going to have to, in most cases, pay the utilities each month. Now, the positive is that in some cases you can get a good bit more than you can for a traditional rental. So, again, in the area that we bought in, y'all know that the World Cup is coming. You know that it's close to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium where they have football and soccer and concerts. So it's honestly a really good area for short-term rental. And a lot of people choose to do that option. So those are kind of the different directions you could go as far as types of tenant. And I would determine which one is right for you based off of your comfort level, based off of how much time you have to put into it, and based off of the return, right? And what I mean there is, how much did you pay for the property and how much would each of these types of tenant generate for you in rent each month? And that's a great way to try to make that decision. So, those are the types of tenants. And from there, we're going to continue and we're going to talk about how do you find and acquire that next property after you've got your first one. So, y'all stay tuned. See you soon.